I just finished, for the first time, King in Black. And so for no particular reason, today we're going to do a top 10 storylines that didn't quite stick their landing. In the past, JLA and JSA frequently collaborated, something that since the modern age has since been often abandoned. In Justice League of America / Justice Society of America, The Lightning Saga by Jeff Johns, Brad Meltzer, Dave Eaglesham, Ed Benz, and Shane Davies, the two teams reunited to look into the time-lost Legion of Superhero members after Infinite Crisis. The Legion's objective in the present was to free Wally West and his family from the Speed Force by using lightning rods made by BRAINIAC 5. The odd part is that they didn't tell the other two teams about this. It's an exciting ride up until that point, but the conclusion rendered a fantastic plot kinda pointless. Next up was House of M. The Marvel Universe was greatly impacted by this book. Written by Brian Michael Bendis and illustrated by Olivier Coipel, Scarlet Witch's and the X-respective men's status quos were drastically altered, with the latter being essentially destroyed. The majority of the mutant population was depowered at the book's conclusion, and the mutant race was in danger of going extinct. The X-Men novels were doomed to over 10 years of gloomy tales as a result of this, segregating them to their own corner of the Marvel Universe, far from the spotlight. It's a failure as a conclusion on several levels. Batman and Son. Damian Wayne was first introduced to the DC Universe in the story Batman and Son by author Grant Morrison and Andy Kubert. Batman fans love this opening tale from his epic series, in which the Caped Crusader battles Talia al Ghul's ninja man-bats while taming his boisterous son. A fantastic tale. Up until the conclusion, that is. The story finishes with Talia and Damian appearing to have passed away because Morrison was playing homage to Silver Age Batman stories during its time. As the two characters made a comeback, the conclusion was a little pointless. Back in the day, this Silver Age cliche worked just fine, but just not anymore. Next up was Inhumans vs. X-Men. The unsuccessful Inhumans campaign by Marvel has far-reaching effects on the Marvel Universe. Inhumans v X-Men by Charles Soule, Jeff Lemire, and Leinil Yu is a fantastic illustration of that. It was a rather dull plot overall, finally pushing the two sides against each other, but the ending made it much worse. In addition to having the Inhumans destroy the Terrigen Mist Cloud, which doomed their entire population, it also attempted to turn Emma Frost back into a villain. To begin with, it rudely moved the Inhumans out of the spotlight and towards ultimate annihilation rather than finding a method to keep them as a force in the Marvel Universe. In a fit of rage, it appeared as though Marvel was attempting to harm both of their brands. Tom King's Batman run, a must-read Batman run that delves deeply into the character's psychology. Additionally, it brought readers some amazing stories with top-notch artwork by DC's greatest, but Tom King's psychological storytelling approach didn't appeal to some admirers. Although he was scheduled to write 100 issues, his tenure ended at issue 85 with City of Bane. And although City of the Bane is a good novel, King's saga isn't actually concluded by it. There's still the issue with Catwoman's marriage to handle. DC decided against allowing King to write a narrative that would have significantly altered Batman. Understanding that makes this run's end way more disappointing. At least we got a writer that finally gave Bane justice. ULTIMATUM, the most despised Marvel story in recent memory. It documented Magneto's attack against the world after Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch were slain, and it was written by Jeff Loeb with David Finch. Many heroes formed the Ultimate Universe, perished along with millions of others, all of which led to a final conflict with Magneto that claimed even more lives. After then, just to add to the grimness of this ending, Cyclops is killed on live television. Even though the comic is already too grim and awful, a stronger conclusion might have been able to save it. Unfortunately, this conclusion just intensifies the book's unceasing sorrow. Due to this finale, the Ultimate line was effectively killed for years, limping along as a shell of what it once was. Next up is BRAINIAC, an Action Comics title. A standout amongst the incredible Superman tales is Action Comics' BRAINIAC by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank, which has left readers in awe to this day. After all these years, it still holds up, pitting Superman against the most terrifying Brainiac we've ever seen. But the story's conclusion leaves a lot to be desired. While Pa Kent's passing is tragic, Superman's victory over Brainiac is a bit of an outrage. Superman was being assaulted by the dictator when the Man of Steel just dragged him into a swamp. Brainiac got all germaphobe, and that gave Superman an upper hand, and that was that. It entirely eliminated the buildup of Brainiac's threat. Next up is death metal. Poor villains plague many otherwise excellent stories, and Death Metal by Scott Snyder and Capullo suffered from that problem. By the time the story was done, Batman Who Laughs wasn't as much well liked when he started, but Death Metal was still a decent comic. The conclusion looked fantastic at the time, with a brand new Omniverse revealed and a new team-up of heroes and villains to witness it, but no book really used any of that other than Wonder Woman. At this point, it just feels like the ending was disregarded by DC as a whole. Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths as well kind of ends the same way, so Death Metal's ending is a bit superfluous. Second to last, we have Immortal Hulk. Throughout time, Marvel has greatly improved Hulk. The Immortal Hulk was his strongest series in a long time, maybe even ever. It brought the character's horror elements to the forefront unlike ever before. Fans eagerly anticipated the conclusion since writer Al Ewing and regular series artist Joe Bennett did such an outstanding job. To put it mildly, issue 50 was crap. Cliché rubbish. It abruptly connected the families of Banner and Stearns for hollow thematic resonance, and the plot required a deus ex machina to be resolved. Even if the series is still excellent, no one ever talks about the ending, and for good reason. Lastly, we got One More Day. One of Marvel's most important modern tales is Spider-Man One More Day, for better or for worse. The narrative follows Spider-Man as he attempted to find a method to save Aunt May from wounds caused by an assassin's bullet. It was written by Michael Straczynski with helpful modifications by Marvel editorial and then editor-in-chief Quesada. Spider-Man and Mary Jane would exchange their marriage to Mephisto for Aunt May's life at the conclusion of the story. That absurd conclusion turns what would have been a moving tale about coping with loss into a Spider-Man caricature.